right, guys. Things are really kicking off well. I feel like I brought, aside from forgetting a pillow, I feel like I brought my camping A game today. Um, got the little UCO lantern. When I see, I have a little backlight here just to make it a little bit better for recording. But all I took with me as far as cookware goes is this little canteen cup and canteen combo. I did bring a gallon of extra water just because I always do that. I feel like it's good practice to have more water than I need than rather than less. Um, Man, it gets stupid hot in here. If you put just even slightly too much wood and then you start choking it down so that heat spends more time before it just passes through, it gets crazy hot in here. Let me see what it is now. Showing it's only 72 over here, but the amount of heat that is just radiating off of this stove is absolute insanity. And I've got barely any wood in this thing. There's just a couple of sticks in there burning at a time because that's pretty much all I can handle. Earlier I had it up to 88, and it's, I mean, granted, it's not very cold outside. It's probably, in the 50s outside right now, so it's not too cold. Um, but I'm pretty impressed with it so far. I would definitely want to move this stove over there on the other side of that pole because I don't want it this close to me. And I was hoping I could put it right here because I wanted to be able to have two people in here in case, a friend or somebody or the wife or whoever wants to uh, come out here with me. But yeah, I think I'm gonna go ahead and move the stove to the other side because this thing radiates so much damn heat that I really don't want it that close to me. Um, Luckily tonight I didn't bring a sleeping bag or anything like that, and I probably all I brought is a wool blanket just because of the flame retardant characteristics of it. I feel like would be a little safer with having this stove inside here. Now keep in mind all the areas where the galvanizing was likely to burn off on this stove. I have already burned it super hot outside quite a few times to burn all the galvanizing off. Now the stovepipe itself is still a little bit shiny up there, but it never gets hot enough up there in order to burn that off. So just a little, you know, disclaimer right there. Galvanizing wouldn't be a good thing to have inside your tent, if it were burning off. Uh, but anyway, let me show what I got for chow. So all I did was, you probably can't see very much of that, took some ramen soup, cooked that up, and I threw some beef that I found in, I think it was maybe in the breakfast food section. It was close by it anyway. There was some pre-cooked beef in a little bag, so I bought that bag and I put it in here and just cooked it up with my noodles, and there you go. It's a pretty hearty chow. Probably not the healthiest thing in the world for you, being ramen noodles and all, but hey, it'll keep you full, especially on a cold night, so I'll take it. Well, good morning, guys. Um, it was a pretty good night last night, but I did learn a couple of things. Number one, I want this stove to be farther off that way, and I tried to put the stove kind of in the middle because I wanted this to still be a two-person tent, and I just don't think it's going to work out that way, at least not until I make a much smaller stove or something like that. Um, Now, it wasn't close enough to burn this rail right here on this cot, but it did still get really hot right there. And I think most of the night, if I did pull out that blanket, it was just to use it as a heat shield more than to actually use it for warmth, because it was, at some point, it had to be 90, 80, 90 degrees, because I was, well, no, it had to be hotter than that, because it takes a good bit for me to sweat. And I was definitely laying there sweating at one point, so I had to actually open these doors up and let all the heat out and cut the stove down a lot to try and bring it back down to a more manageable temperature. Um, so yeah, first thing, I would definitely want to move the stove over and just go ahead and maybe you could put two people on one side or something like that. But do have some bacon and eggs cooking in the old canteen cup right there. I kind of wish I'd have brought another cup so I could have coffee going at the same time, but yeah, it is what it is. Yeah, it was about mid 40s outside. Inside, it was it was a sweat lodge. So take what you want from that. I guess I'm going to try it again in the winter time. I don't know if I'm going to use this specific tent. I might just buy one that's purposely built for this, but the stove works great, but the only issue I have with that is I need to put in some sort of dampener on the flue because this thing will start roaring like a jet engine in the middle of the night, and it'll just start baffling back and forth. And I think it's because it's sucking such a high velocity of air through there. It's just getting crazy. So I need to be able to dampen that flow rate down a little bit so that I can still keep the vent open to get a good amount of volume of air, but I don't want that air traveling so fast. Otherwise it seems like it gets into a situation where it almost kind of runs away. Sorry, my battery's going dead. It runs away on you, and the hotter it gets, the more air it sucks. The more air it sucks, the hotter it gets. Suck, bang, blow, that whole thing. Suck, squeeze, bang, blow. That's the whole jet engine thing, isn't it? Uh, so I'm going to have to put something on the end to help tune down the stove a little bit. That way it will just burn at a nice even heat, not just be sucking, huge amounts of air through there and just really have that fire roaring in there because it really doesn't need to be. But anyway, I'm going to have to charge my battery before I get back to you, and I'll see you in a minute. Well, everyone, I decided that I would just go ahead and pack up and head out. I definitely want to get some time in with the family and everything like that before I go back to work. I will most likely be making some, either I'll make a new tent, buy a new tent, or modify the tent that I have. Obviously the tent stove, it's going to need probably a stronger front door or more reinforced front door so it doesn't flex and bow out so much and just warp from the heat. It's really hard to control the airflow when the door is warping in different ways, let's see, what else? I do plan to add a damper to the, what do you call it, the stovepipe. So hopefully I can manage the airflow and manage the heat just a little bit easier, because you could go from, say, gosh, almost cold to miserably hot in under a minute with that thing, it seems like. I looked over a few times during the night and it was glowing, just a very, very dim red. So she's making some heat, but I need to be able to control that better. So either that or I'm going to have to build a smaller stove that can just run hot all the time but won't produce quite as much, as many BTU. So we'll see how that works out. But anyway, if I don't catch you again, I hope you succeed in everything you attempt to accomplish in your life, and I will catch you on the next one. Have a good one. Bye.